For the library grant.
If you are.
Okay, I call to order the Collegedale City Commission meeting for Monday, June 5th. Thank you for being here with us this evening. We have a lot of matters to discuss. And I'd like to begin this evening. I've asked Vice Mayor Tim Johnson to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Shall we pray? Dear God, we appreciate the night that you've given us and appreciate the opportunity to be here and to discuss the subject at hand. We ask that you be with Commissioner Lamb and her family at this time. We ask that you guide us in your ways. Amen. Shall we stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker? I'm here. Commissioner Lamb? Commissioner Sadler?
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Lloyd?
Here. And I believe we've had a chance to review the previous meeting's minutes. Any questions, changes, deletions from any of the commissioners?
No.
None is noted. Do we have an approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. Okay, we will open up this portion of our meeting for comments from citizens. However, if you would like to comment on the annual budget and tax rate, we ask that you wait until the public hearing, which will soon follow. Are there any other public comments that any of the citizens would like to make? If you would step up, give us your name and your address, please.
Debbie Alden, 9421 Leland Drive. I just have two things today. It's come to my attention that we don't have transportation out here in Collegedale. We did that survey a couple years ago, and it showed that there was a transportation deficit. And it's come to my attention just today that we have a senior citizen in our area that she's well enough to walk. She doesn't need an ambulance, but she doesn't want to drive downtown to go to a hospital doctor down there, but that's where the specialists are. And when I called CARTA and things like that, it's only available to people that live in Chattanooga. And so I didn't know if there is something that we don't know about for the residents of Collegedale to have transportation arrangements made for them, or how we could get that for people, because I can't believe that she'd be the only one.
And she still lives in Greenbrier?
Yeah. She lives in a single family home. We have neighbors, we'll take care of her, but there needs to be some transportation things for people, options for them. And then weeds and mowing. I noticed on the other side of Epsom Pike along the trail there was a swatch of weeds mowed, but then the rest of the lot is not mowed. I'm sure it will be mowed before the 3rd of July when we have company coming. But then also where the trailer is up here on Swinyar, that has not been mowed. We go around about this all the time about, are there ordinances about these empty lots and how high their weeds can be, because they don't look so good. So I was just wondering if they were going to be mowed before the 3rd of July, or are we just waiting till the 3rd of July like always? The empty lots in our division, we finally got the landowner. He sends his mowing crew out the 1st of every month, and they all get mowed. It's taken us quite a few years to get that, but he's now on a set schedule, and every month they come and mow down the weeds, and we're happy with once a month. But it's unsightly, especially with the new park coming across the street. We need to have everything looking good. So
We'll have codes enforcement look into the property owner off Swinier and reach out to them. I don't know where you're talking about on Appleton Pike.
right here at across the street.
That's a private property, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they bail it for hay. So I would expect it's going to be mowed just before the 4th of July. But
Hey.
yes, they've been bailing it historically for hay
Oh.
for years.
Yeah. Yeah, so the trailer, we can definitely do something about,
Okay,
with codes.
because that doesn't look like it's hay worthy.
But we don't own it and we cannot cut property that's not ours, unfortunately.
They do bale it for hay. I agree with your comment about the quality of the hay, but our hands are tied from an enforcement angle on that since
So it's an agriculturally zoned lot.
it's not, it's existing non-conforming, and since they've maintained agricultural activities on it, it's protected by the state.
Oh,
As long as they continue to bale hay on it, they have a right by the state to bale hay, since we're a right to farm state. I agree with everything you're saying. Our hands are tied.
okay, well, it's unsightly. All right, just wanted to say.
We can reach out and share that. We just won't have an enforcement angle.
They could put a privacy fence in front of it. Put murals. We could have artists put murals on the fence welcoming people into the city. I don't know. Anything would be better than the weeds or the hay, sorry.
If we would, let's go ahead and send that letter out.
We will.
Okay, great. Okay, any other comments from citizens?
Ted Mauer, 5520 Barrington Country Circle. I just had a question about the construction on the New Appleton Pike, the bridge between Four Corners and Tucker Road. It seems to have been a long, long time since they put in another pier. And I was wondering whether there's a legitimate delay or construction schedule is off schedule or what might be going on there.
The only
Just-
information that's been shared with us is that they're still on schedule to finish up in another year or so.
Oh,
But
okay.
they don't share that level of granularity in their construction schedule with us.
Okay.
Yeah, I did ask Mr. Wright of Wright Construction
Yeah.
within the last couple of weeks if everything was still on schedule. He said yes. And I wondered the same thing that you're questioning, because I'm not seeing any more piers.
Yeah, they put in a few piers and they've completed the bridge on 2 or 3 of them. There's one that's still standing alone. But if that section could be opened, that would certainly facilitate some traffic movement through the area, it seems to me.
Sure.
But anyway, I just wondered. I did hear a rumor that the railroad is having a problem with the placement of one of the bases of one of the piers, that I don't know whether that's the case or not. But I don't know whether anybody else has heard anything about that.
I've not heard of that.
Okay.
My understanding is that was addressed, but we went round and round with construction
Excuse me.
over the placement of those piers in the double span.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other public comments?
I would just like to mention to address what Ms. Alden said. With the lady that might need transportation from downtown or whatever, there are agencies, if she'll let her doctor know, that they can, she could probably get it free, or she get it it's like $1 or $2 expense. And they'll take them there and back. It used to be, because I used to use them for my husband when he wasn't able to drive. It starts with an A.
Is it Sethra?
There's SEPRA, and then there's another one called,
SETHRA?
and they're very good. They're very good and very reliable. It's just been so long since I've used them, but they do come out here. And then at one time, we did have the survey you were talking about. Carter did have a transportation where carpooling could go there, but they stopped on Little Debbie Parkway. They couldn't come back up this way because at the time, from what I remember, and I stand to be corrected, but they couldn't come any further because of the size of their vehicles and the type of roads and the transportation. Their survey, I want to say, that went by. But they were coming out like in front of Integra, the apartments and stuff, and they had designated areas over Little Debbie Parkway so that they could turn and go back and take people to the mall, downtown, a regular Carter transportation. And they could possibly, by calling Carter, they might have something more.
I called Carter, they don't have anything.
And they probably, it has a lot to do with how many people were using it. So that was probably why I haven't seen them out here in a long time.
You try the Sethra, SET, Southeastern Tennessee, I can't remember the rest of the
There used to
acronym.
be an alliance too that,
Well, this nice lady behind me also gave me my ride Tennessee, And I looked it up and there is a number for Bradley and Hamilton County, so I'll call them tomorrow as well.
But yeah, and even if with the, I don't know if she receives Medicaid benefits or Social Security, whatever, they have agencies where they can hook up.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Wilson, 9507 Heathwood. A comment about the mowing. We walk the greenway every morning, and right out here where the temporary fence is, there's poison ivy that's 6 feet tall. And the fence is on the pathway. So you're passing somebody, people are brushing against that, which is not unsightly, but it's bad for people's health. It's not been mowed. The other thing is, all winter long, we have all-weather water fountains out there. They're all turned off from way before frost to way after frost. And we walk the winter, we need a drink of water in the winter as well as the summer. And the third thing is all of the planters for the flowers are full of weeds. Nobody has done anything with those. I think we're through with frost for the year. The new out in front of the commons here, it's looking very nice, except a week or so ago, they put in a lot of expensive new plants. They have not been watered. My wife turns on the faucet when it's not locked there and waters some of them, but we can't water them all. There are a lot of butterfly plants that are just dying. Some of them still have the tags on them. They have to be watered or it's a waste of our resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And
We
from public,
we can address that.
yeah, we can certainly.
I
address
actually
that.
walked the Greenway yesterday too and saw probably 3 of the large planters. It looks like they could definitely use some attention to them. And I was also going to ask, while we're on that subject, the Veterans Memorial, will the aircraft be getting washed before our fireworks event, or when does that usually happen annually? Okay.
For the 4th.
And I believe at one time they had like people that was doing the flowers and stuff, the public works, but also Commissioner Lamb probably knows more about it. Some ladies and so forth would come out and plant flowers. There was a garden club or something. I don't know what happened to that. They usually keep it up and going. And then over at the Commons, that area, those plants, I know at the time, Little Debbie's is supposed to be taking care of that. Of course, we've had issues with them planting and
Mr.
stuff.
Varto, would you like to address that?
We just have not had the help. We've been trying to get out there and watering everything. It got hot so quick that now that the kids are out of school, I've got somebody over there watering.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there was about last week or so where everything got in about 3 weeks ago, and then it was raining regularly, and then it just went dry on us. And now I've got a kid over there 3 days a week watering.
Okay.
And then poison ivy.
Yeah, we'll get the
Take care of
poison
it.
ivy addressed
Yeah.
next week.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah. Mr. Wilson, if you're looking for a part-time job, Mr. Bartow might be hiring. So you can talk to him afterwards. Any other public comments? Okay, well, if there are no other public comments, I will close our commission meeting and I will open our public hearing. So the first matter for discussion is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1118.
An ordinance of the City of Collegedale, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024.
Okay. All of us are here this evening because we love Collegedale. I dare say there's anyone in this audience who doesn't. We've got a lot to talk about with this. Our city, like every single one of us here tonight, we've all been hit by inflation. It's hit all of us. Our city's been hit with gasoline, diesel increases, asphalt, concrete, basic office supplies, things that we need to operate a city every single day. The question is, how do we counter or offset the shortfall in revenue while still offering essential city services? And that's the question that we've got to address tonight. Is the answer reducing city services? Do we lay off police officers? Do we close a public library? Do we quit offering a 4th of July celebration? I mean, the list goes on and on. Or do we maintain the city that we are? I'm proud of the city that we are. I know we all are. We have, the last numbers I saw were the 10th safest city in the state of Tennessee. I'm proud of our police department for that. I personally don't want to see that number changed. We offer great city services, and I think all of these things are things that we as citizens hold dear. You know, it's easy to say, I'm against a tax increase. Well, guess what? So am I. However, tonight we've got difficult choices to make. Frankly, none of us on this commission take this lightly. This is very heavy. But in fairness to everyone, and I will open up the mic for anyone who wants to speak, I'm asking that comments be limited to 5 minutes in fairness to other people who want to speak. After you're finished, I'm going to ask our city manager or department managers to give a rebuttal if that is appropriate. The bottom line is, as commissioners, we want to make decisions based upon truth. We don't want to make decisions based upon hearsay or I heard that. We want the truth to come out. And I think this is very important for all of us. Other commissioners, would you like to address anything before we open the floor up?
I believe we usually do that after, or
Yeah, and we started hearing, I'll just let them speak first. And we can.
Okay, all right. Well, if there are any citizens that would like to step up to the mic, address the budget, be happy for you to come speak.
You look like you're wanting to say something there. Come on up.
If you'd give us
I
your
can see,
name.
I wasn't sure if she was holding you back.
She says, don't. My name's Chad Pickering. I live at 9502 Heathwood Drive. And I feel more so for the elderly facing financial burden to see an increase like this that we just experienced not too long ago. And I know some of the elderly, they're all on, fixed incomes, and they're facing challenges of, excuse me, medication, food, and making hard decisions, hard choices
Sure.
between the two. And I just feel that they're the ones that's going to really, suffer from this. And I just wish that we would keep this in consideration when making a decision like this. I know that there are hard decisions to make, but please keep that in mind for them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Sam Schroesch, 4115 Stratton Lane. I do want to address the previous question here about the elderly. 4 years ago, I came here asking the commissioners if they would meet us halfway on the tax increase when they were going to increase it by, when the tax increase was increased by 31%, I believe, or 39 cents. And we almost had an agreement, or almost an agreement to go meet halfway, but it got pulled out at the last minute. So yes, we did discuss that 4 years ago, and the tax rate was increased, and that really didn't matter at that time. One of my questions I have is that at that time we decided, the city manager decided to take a $4 million bond to cover certain taxes that weren't going to be paid. Has that $4 million bond been used yet? Or do we still have those funds?
We have a portion of that money still in savings.
So what would that be amount look like?
I would have to get you an exact number. I don't want to guess.
So we have like over 3 million
Out of the bond or in total?
of the bond that we took.
That sounds correct, but I don't want to swear to
Okay.
you without telling you the exact number.
So we were able to go 4 years without using those funds that we took on loan, basically. So one of the questions that I saw, I guess, our Commissioner Sadler shared some information on Facebook, and just wanted to make sure the increases for certain folks were shared, being transparent. Are those correct numbers concerning the New Year's increase versus last year's increase? Are those correct numbers that were shared on Facebook?
Retention incentive?
Yes.
The expansion of the retention incentive appears to be correct.
Okay. So, and again, this is just for the positions, not the people that hold those positions, but I'm not sure how we can, in good conscience, change these rates to increase over 100% on at least one incentive, when all these people here are also living with, as you said, the consequence of inflation. I'm not sure how you guys can represent the folks that live in Collegedale, all 12,000 plus people, by approving these incentives for those positions, not the people, but for those positions. But one is over 100%, maybe 120%, from 5,000 to 12,000. How can you represent us and the elderly that he just talked about with money still unused from 4 years ago that we paid interest on? How can we approve that and represent us at the same time? I believe there's the benefits that I've gone over that were displayed on via Facebook includes insurance, pension, car allowances, and obviously taxes that we pay on people's behalf. They're very well, they're very generous. I work for one of the best organizations in the world. I've worked for many corporations, and some of these benefits are very nice. Incentives for people to stay in their jobs. It's not very, not many people do that. I mean, if we were talking about corporate America, you're trying to give a CEO an incentive to stay so you won't be taken by somebody else. But we're talking about our 12,000 people here that have 25, 30 police cars, or 30-something police cars, 25 police personnel, and we have incentives just so you can stay in your job. I think a lot of people would disagree about those incentives, and I recommend for those roles, if you want to pay someone, you pay them well, and that is your incentive. You have a lot of perks, but on top of that, asking us to see this and go and say it's okay, I think it's a disservice to the people that live here. And that's what I ask you. I mean, there is a middle ground. I obviously watched some or read some comments between one of the gentlemen here and Commissioner Sadler about meeting halfway. I mean, surely, as commissioners that love this city as we do, there's got to be a middle ground. I mean, is this the right time to increase, in addition to the 4 year ago, 31%, 39-cent increase? Is this the right way to do it? I think there's some opportunities where you can look at the budget, and you may have to make some difficult decisions and say, you know what, this is not the right time to do this. So we may have to remove some positions, but I think it's the wrong time. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to improve these budgets. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, would any of our city officials, Mr. Hines, would you like to address any of those points?
Are there any more public comments first? Okay, seeing none, sure. As staff, we are very sensitive to how a proposed tax increase would affect all the citizens. It was not a decision made lightly when it was proposed to the commission. We were faced with the question that the mayor asked before, and that is, how do we maintain our current level of service or do we cut the level of service? And the budget we presented was intended to maintain our current level of service. And so that's how we put it together. Mr. Schrosh is correct. There was a tax increase several years ago prior to the last reassessment. The plan at that time was to hold the rate at the next reassessment. That did not happen. It was driven down. And then when that happened, it was planned at that time, and this predates myself, that at next year's reassessment, it would be raised back up to the $1.65. What we've proposed now is $1.55. That is sticking with the inflation-adjusted historical average over the last 8 or so years of $1.61. And so this proposed tax rate is staying in concert with the inflation-adjusted historical numbers. We are all addressing inflation. I'll email you the exact bond number. I just don't know it off the top of my head, and I don't want to be incorrect. As far as the retention incentive, we are proposing an expansion of the retention incentive because we don't have a stepped pay system as some of our peers do. And it seems more transparent to do it this way rather than building in that same raise each year and paying it out over 26 pay periods rather than one check. Also, in polling the employees, they prefer for it to be paid out. The expansion percentages were aimed at mainly Public Works and the Police Department, and then were held across all of the other roles. The larger increases that you are seeing happen to be the longest employed employees who have happened to work incredibly hard over the last 20 plus years to achieve very high positions within the organization. It is very interesting that Commissioner Sadler cashed every one of her retention checks while she was an employee as well, and then posted wanting to cut it back and do away with the program. So again, we took this budget very seriously. We took the request for a tax increase very seriously. No one wants to, but when we're facing over 8% inflation this year alone and incredible wage pressure the last several years, when we compete with organizations such as McKee that has profit sharing, TVA that has much, much larger bonuses, when we're competing with private industry as well to maintain a workforce that, due to birth demographics of our population, is going to be shorthanded for the next decade or so, we're doing everything we can to keep a stable workforce. The average employee right now who's in their 20s stays at a job they like 30 months and under 2 years the job they don't like. The cost to find, hire, onboard, and train a new employee is typically almost half of their annual salary. So we are doing our best to keep as stable of a workforce as we can to minimize those expenses and to, again, continue to provide the level of service that the citizens of Collegedale have come to expect.
Thank you very much.
Probably need to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
No,
We have one more item to discuss.
okay.
Any other public comments? Welcome.
Sorry, I
No.
apologize.
No, we're thankful you're here.
Traffic's murder between here and downtown.
I understand.
Hey, if we could just reflect that Commissioner Lamb has joined the group.
It will be.
Okay, let's go ahead and close this hearing for Public Ordinance 1118. And we have second reading of Ordinance 1119 and public hearing for that. Can we go ahead and read that?
More appropriate to finish up 1118 before moving to 11.
Would you rather? Okay.
I would, since they're unrelated.
Okay, well, let's do that then. So I will reopen the commission meeting. Let's talk about ordinance 1118. And comments from commissioners?
Well, I can start off. You know, I've sat here and I listened to the budget. I've made comments. I asked that we kind of step back on the number of cars we need, trying to think about, is there ways around a increase? Because everybody feels it. Not only that, but like everybody's saying, the price of food, price of gas is going up, and it is a challenge for people in the community as well. And I honestly feel like that we are elected by the citizens of Collegedale to make good choices, the best choices we can for the city and for them. And I feel like normally we do a pretty good job of that, but this is the one budget that I have now come to, after receiving probably 11 calls or conversations while I'm out at the grocery store or something over the weekend. And I'm just gonna be very clear. They are not Tanya Sadler's friends. So she did not sick them on me. if
We
you
don't
will.
have a lot of the same
I know.
circle.
These are my friends that I don't think there's any connection. So I'm speaking for Tim Johnson and not for
I appreciate
Tanya.
that.
So I'm going to base my vote upon that number of employee or citizens who have outreach to me, and I appreciate it. I think mine is on, I questioned the police cars. I also mentioned as well the incentives and the raises people are getting. This is not new to the city. I questioned it when our prior city manager was here, Ted Rogers. And kind of felt like that there was not a lot of give and take. And I think the budget should have more give and take because I'm not seeing, although there's a little bit going on, I don't think there's really enough that is making me feel comfortable. And I don't understand the security position in the budget.
Safety.
Safety, excuse me. Where is that at the airport?
That is shared between Public Works and the Sewer Department. So half the position is paid out of the general fund as an employee of Public Works. The other half is paid out of sewer.
And what is this person going to be doing?
So that person is going to be writing the SOPs for all of our safe practices. We're hoping to not have any more employees lose fingers as a very specific example. It'll include things like PPE, gloves, eye protection, UL listings on equipment, pre-job briefs, STAR, et cetera. They're also going to be doing our playground inspections, things of that nature, our ADA inspections, and they will be OSHA 30 trained to safen up our work environment. That came at Commissioner, what I inferred to be her suggestion of liability on employees.
So I guess my concern is because we should be OSHA compliant anyway. And I understand accidents do happen. And we've got to do everything we can to mitigate that. And we've done without it for this many years. I don't know if that's something we can do without. You know, it's one of those give and takes. But it does bother me that, you know, when we're raising taxes, we're doing that. And again, I'm a big believer in the police department. I see all the good things they're doing out there. I'm thinking that we are in a situation we need to look at what we can reduce. You and I have talked about maybe postponing it. I understand we get out of the cycle of replacing police cars. But that being said, the salaries, that position, the retention, it really got me concerned. I know it's not a lot of money. I looked at mine increase and it was around $80 a year for this 15%. So it's not a lot out of my pocket from that perspective, but for somebody else, it may be. And I think I'll stop right there for the minute.
Okay.
Can I follow up on that? I'd like to know who takes care of those activities, responsibilities now if we did not hire that person.
The safety activities, we don't have good SOPs, to be just brutally honest with you. And we have lots of opportunities for improvement when it comes to checking equipment before it's used and UL listings and things of that nature. Public Works is doing the playground inspections and the ADA inspections now. And those responsibilities would roll off of them so they could handle the flowers and things like that were mentioned earlier in this meeting. And we would have a dedicated and trained individual that would be part of their day-to-day roles. But the goal of this position is to start by a significant drafting of safety SOPs that would start in Public Works and Sewer and then expand out to other departments as they're written.
Does MTS not have standard policies like that? I mean, they are our consultants. Do they not have stuff like that?
They have some rough frameworks, and that's kind of what we're using. The other goal of the position is that they're there in creating the culture change that we need for things like hand protection, eye protection, et cetera. You need someone in the field with the folks doing the work. I don't want to use the word hounding, but for lack of a better term, hounding them to follow the policies until we get the culture change where it becomes an expectation. This is pretty typical of most areas that have line of sight injuries and that sort of thing.
And how much have we budgeted for that position?
I don't know the number off the top of my head with benefits, but again, it's split between sewer user fees and the general fund. The position will pay a little over $19 an hour plus benefits on the backside.
So I'm just concerned one person can oversee so much. It's a lot to oversee.
It is a lot to oversee.
Do they have any other responsibilities or in their job description, or is that the only thing they do?
Those are the items in the job description now, the OSHA 30, the playground inspections and writing the SOPs and overseeing the cultural change and activities of that safety program. They would not be, for instance, picking up garbage or something like that.
I'm sorry, is there not someone that can be trained that we already have in those departments, one or another, or are they running shorthanded themselves?
We do not have anyone to take on the additional responsibilities such as the OSHA, the SOP writing and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to address Sam's question. And my understanding that 4 million in the bond will allow us to build the parking lot. Is that correct? And it's cheaper for us to take it out of the bond versus going and get a loan for the almost $2 million to build that.
My expectation was to request pulling that out of savings to pay for the parking lot, yes. I did not expect to ask for any more debt.
And I think that it would be nice for the city, and I'm not beating anybody up, but these are things that we may talk about it, but as you see, a lot of people don't come to workshops, and tonight we have a good crowd because it's budget. I think we need to find a better way to communicate some of this out there. And I know you can't, every time you breathe, communicate it, but this is pretty major, I think, from that perspective.
How about we do a community poll on preferred methods of communication? We'll take that and then not at this month's workshop, but maybe the subsequent, discuss with the commission what type of items you would like to see communicated. And after we get the results of those polls, if people say they want it on Facebook or if they want it on the website, however we do that, we can go about it that way.
Sam, I don't know if that helps you a little bit, but I thought I would share that. What we're going to use some of that money for.
So right now is the plan with this budget, the tax increase plus use our savings for the parking lot?
When we get the number in for the parking lot, yes, that would be the request at that time. It is not currently budgeted in capital to do that parking lot.
But it would come from what we have in the savings that we've got now.
Correct.
So that's what it was predetermined to do back then. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I understand. I'm sorry, can I speak?
No, please speak.
I truly understand, because I live it, what it's like to live on a fixed budget and be on security and draw on disability. My husband does and so forth. That's why I worked 2 jobs prior to moving here. And I don't like having to go up on taxes, cost of living, because I know how much it impacts. I know how much it impacts me. And so we do take it very seriously. You have a variety of occupations, things here, and types of income from the commission. So we feed off each other and our strengths and to balance out. So we don't take the responsibility lightly. It hurts us to have to do anything else but to do what is, are very diligent, and the workers are very diligent. And I've said this a little before in the past, we have not had that much increases. We've kept it over, I know, the times that I have been in office, and I've lived out here for over 20 years. Not that many times have we increased the budget. Twice since I've been here. Okay? And I was happy because I was moving into an area and I was getting a quality of life. But like we said, things change. The inflation's changed. The way government higher up has appropriated funds to the cities has changed. So we've been slacked back on some monies there. So we have to work with what we got. And we try to be more conservative than anything in order to help. That doesn't mean that things can't change down the road or before the year's out, some type of, especially we were hoping to have more retail come in to offset having to go up off any property taxes and things. And that all depends on the demographics, and we can't control that. It's the people that have to come in and offer to put in for business and stuff, and then we can look at that. So I just want y'all to know we don't take it lightly.
No.
And we go over these numbers and everything, we scrutinize them. You know, we look to see what is the best, what can we do? And in the same time, we look back to see how we can enhance your life as we go through the year. You know, how we can take pressure off of you and everyone in this community. And like we have to go with the whole community. And so we're trying just to be flexible and to be, to take everybody and to be fair to everybody. You know, so that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I would echo exactly what you've said. This is something that we all take very, very seriously. We all traveled to, well, except for us, Mayor Johnson, we were in Nashville lobbying our state representatives to change the way that the state sales tax is done, because we don't feel like it's fair. We feel like there should be a shared state sales tax. It takes money away from not only Collegedale, but all the municipal governments all over the state of Tennessee. And we collectively lobbied. We would love to see things different from that perspective, but this is something that weighs heavily on all of us. And this is not an easy thing. Mr. Settler?
From all the emails that we've received collectively from people that have asked us not to do this and people that have reached out to me individually, no one understands raising the taxes for the items that are listed in this budget, the capital expenses. And just to go back a little bit, I don't really think it's appropriate to insinuate that if we don't do this, people are going to be laid off. I don't think that's been discussed at any point, has it? Laying off of personnel?
I didn't insinuate that.
No, it was just brought up earlier. I just wanted it to be clear. We've never talked about in this budget session having to lay off employees. So that's not something that's hinging.
The only conversation was whether or not to fill the created positions.
Well, earlier it was mentioned,
Yes.
do we lay off
Yeah, I mean,
employees?
there-
I just
there-
want to make clear, we've not discussed
Sure,
laying
we have
off
not
employees.
discussed layoffs, no.
Based on this version of the budget, I just don't see it with the current amount of police cars, the retention incentive, the way that it's currently structured, and other items that I see that we could still work on. But I would be very willing to work if we ended up having another meeting for this later in the month.
So what's, this has to be passed by June 1st, or we have to redo the budget, file information with the state.
Or is it kind of like where we can do the temporary thing to say we're going to hold what we got at the current tax rate until we come to a consensus? Is that a possibility?
Lean on the city attorney to answer that.
You gotta have generally speaking, you gotta have a budget approved by June 30th because it's the new budget year starts on July 1st.
And that's, Sam, can you do a budget amendment to increase the taxes, I guess is a question, after July 1st?
Accurate.
I've never heard of it being done, so I'm not prepared to say yay or nay on it. I mean, certainly in the, whatever, let's see, 24 years I've been here, we've not done that, and I don't remember it being done anywhere else.
What happens if we don't have the budget into the state by the 30th of June?
I guess you get a nasty letter from the comptroller saying, where's your budget?
Aren't there penalties? Am I mistaken? Aren't there penalties for not having it on time or filing for
You won't be, I don't think you'll be fined or anything, but I mean, you know, it shows up on your audit and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not a desirable thing.
And I think we've only done it once since I've been a city commissioner in 20 years.
Yeah.
How would it be time-wise if we use like that last workshop as an extra meeting? How many days is between that and the deadline?
We would have to re-advertise for at least 15 days after the budget was known.
The only time that I know that that's happened is when there's been a delay in getting the new certified tax rate after the reappraisals. And, you know, and of course that happens all over the state, and the auditor, or not the auditor, but the comptroller understands that. But I mean, June 30th, you know, that's the end of this year, and it's the start, July 1st is the start of next year.
Is it possible, so that, I know we do addendums, you know, through the year, because this is kind of a guideline to go by, but say after we some way come back and address whatever situation needs to be addressed, if we need to do an amendment to it, or like.
I mean, you can
like
always
ours or
amend the
something.
budget. I mean, you always do that at the end of the year anyway, because you've moved money around and all that. I've just not heard of amending the tax rate.
I'm not either, to be honest. I was just trying to think of, see if there was a balance of some way we can jiggle. I understand where they're all coming from, and actually I can agree with that, partially what they're saying. That I don't think we need to I think we need to have something done so they can go through by June 30th. So that we're appropriated, you know, our budget, going forward and doing it and not postponing it, which we really can't postpone. It has to be done by June 30th.
So Sam, let me ask you this. If we had an emergency meeting, and I'm just assuming at this point, because I don't know how everybody else is voting, but Commissioner Sadler has implied she's not going to vote for this. If we did an emergency meeting, I don't know, next Monday,
I won't be here.
to have a budget discussion, and then the following Monday, we could vote on the budget again if it didn't pass. I'm just curious, is that?
We still need our 15 days to re-advertise.
Yeah. And then I'd like to input here, because I would want to be in that meeting. And I've already made my schedule, and I have to take my husband to Mobile. Monday morning, we're leaving.
It's also planning commission.
Yeah. Because of that, my mother-in-law is 100 years old almost, and I've got to take him down to see his mother for health reasons.
I
And
mean,
they would have probably the body of people here to do it, but I'd want to be here for that meeting.
my rule of thumb on advertising meetings is 7 days. I think we could get away with 5. I think we tried that one time, and
Budget specifically said.
No. I'm talking about just open meetings type thing. But there is a specific provision that the budget has to be, and
anybody who's, I was about to say opened up the newspaper, but you don't open up the newspaper anymore. You punch the button and it comes. But you see a lot of budgets being published by municipalities right now because this is the time to do it. So, that's the window you're working with, is being able to get it published 15 days before you pass it on. Is it 15 days before you pass it on the final reading?
For the second reading,
Before the second reading.
because it includes the rate and all of that.
Right.
You have your public hearing.
So if well, that still wouldn't help, because I was thinking, we say, okay, we pass it based upon the amount of cars, the police department. Could we not come back then after posting it and give the police, if the money allowed, we address it, so you can only have this many. But then if needed, we can always come back and amend it and then get the more extra police cars. I'm using that as an example because the police department's what's been is being talked about mostly tonight about the cars.
The general question is going to be tax rate.
Okay. Because that's
One
going to
police
affect
car
them
is
no
not
matter
going to
what.
make up the difference of the,
We get cars or not, the tax rate's going to be the tax rate that's in place for a year. Or if there's an adjustment later on that it can be reduced, is what I'm wondering.
that would be possible through an amendment, but the tax rate would need to be set, so we knew what we were working with.
Okay, that explains.
Just putting a feeler out there, but how does anyone feel about keeping our current tax rate? And we work a lot every week on, okay, we already know we're going to have to amend the budget at the end of next year because we want to pay for this. But just plan to have to do some amendments next year and go as we, on each project.
So I guess my question is, if we take the 6 police cars out of the budget, do we still have to have the tax increase?
Yes.
If we take
You can get rid of the library and avoid the tax increase.
we're not getting rid of the library.
I agree. I'm just,
We're
I'm
not.
giving you numbers of magnitude at $40,000 a penny.
$40,000, that's what this
A
is
penny.
worth to us?
Correct. So we have to find $600,000. That's the library.
Okay.
Um,
So if you take the police cars out of the budget and you held on the salaries for a year, I know people are not in favor of that, but I'm realistically looking at what's the best thing for the city and the citizens out there. I mean,
You're going to have days that we run out of fleet cars and go get cars at houses. In the last year, we've had several days that we were down to the very last one and several cars at the end of life. I don't know off the top of my head, holding on all the salaries still isn't going to get us there. Even with the police, we still need another $100,000. So that's another department.
so wonder if we went for the police cars and took it out of the bond. Could we take that money out of the bond versus the budget?
I still need $300,000.
I'm getting you there. Just give me,
So what it sounds like, I'm trying to read between the lines, is the commission's wanting to find a way to hold the tax rate and pay out of savings to cover the then projected deficit.
well,
So that would be $600,000 roughly, round number, out of savings, which we do have out of the bond at the current proposed expenditures. That is similar to what Red Bank did. Or Signal, I'm sorry, Signal. Red Bank did a 54% tax increase, but Signal did that. They pulled $700-something thousand out of their savings.
50 more or less.
Yeah.
so could we keep the no tax increase if we did that?
If the commission allowed me to show the, pardon?
We still wouldn't have it ready by June 30 though, because
have
we
to
don't just advertise the heading, we advertise the numbers, and the numbers were advertised exactly as this budget,
So the fund transfer would have to be advertised.
just the
Well,
new,
the new numbers, because you're backing 600,000 out.
Well, it would just be deficits,
Yeah.
but we would have to show that deficit.
Yeah.
Is that the letter or the spirit of how that works? Like, were we just obligated to do that initial advertisement for what the proposed budget was? Because you don't know how we're going to vote when you do that. If we would have decided to vote on $1.40 tonight, you wouldn't have known that. Are we covered by having already advertised what the starting point was?
The advertisement specifically says the proposed tax rate. Correct?
Yeah, this, in this budget is both,
Right.
the tax rate and the.
I would lean on Sam for the
Well, I
definition
mean,
between
it's-
letter
it's
of the law and.
It's always safer to advertise. And you've got, I mean, if you, I guess the question is, do you have enough time to rework the numbers, get it advertised and have your second, have 2 readings? And I don't know. I mean, we got approximately a month.
Sunday on.
We got approximately a month, but that's what we got.
I'm not saying it's not going to pass. I'm just trying to figure out some options.
There's no way to advertise on Sunday for less than 5 days.
And are we delaying the inevitable? I mean, are we taking $600,000 out of our savings and delaying the inevitable?
Not necessarily, because we would be having discussions about all those expenses individually, wouldn't we? The cars and,
One thing
Not if
too,
we
this
take
is
them
what
out.
we did in our workshop last time. This is when we brought before to discuss. That would have been the time to got a lot of this out of the way and it brought.
I mean,
we
frankly,
were
I've
using that
Yeah,
time.
I agree.
We
not
were
received
using
any
that time
feedback.
for this purpose, is to.
our last
Yeah.
one was canceled. We didn't have the opportunity.
You were told
One
well in
before.
advance that it was going to be, and you were at the same meeting I was at that Monday night,
It doesn't mean I didn't think of additional questions about the budget.
and you chose not to send them to me.
Yeah, and it was
I'm
mentioned
supposed to
before that,
send you
though.
stuff that I think of in the moment every time.
Or run a list. You said you were
Right.
voting no in February before the budget was even drafted.
I'm not sure why you need to be so aggressive on this. I've sent you an email on Thursday and you got back to me today, even though the city was open on Thursday and Friday. I'm not giving you any grief about that, even though it was something I really wanted to review before tonight's meeting.
I think we need to have a professional conversation about this. And unfortunately, there's a little finger pointing both ways. I'm just calling it what it is. I'm straightforward on stuff like this.
Absolutely.
I think that it doesn't sound like there's a lot of opportunities at this point because of the budget being advertised with dollar amounts. And I thought that we still had opportunity to change those dollar amounts.
I think, and I may have misunderstood, but before you had to go to the meeting, which you had, the team that went up to Nashville, we had talked about this in a workshop.
We did.
Before, because you kind of led up to like, I'm going to be out, can we do this? Because we're on a time frame. So in that due respect, there was opportunity and it was made available to us to review. And then we knew that we're going to have to come back here and do, I think it would be very wise in the future, partially agreeing with you. I don't always agree with him. He'll tell you as many times as I kick him underneath the podium, he still stands beside me. I would like to see that, and I understand, the commission, things change and so forth, but because and the new commissioners coming on, new things that are going down that we all need to be made aware of, if we had like in the workshop, if things are drawn up previously, like Mrs. Sadler's questions or Commissioner Sadler's, if I have questions, anyone, concerned about the policies or whatever, we write them down because it's all been given to us prior. We get it firsthand. And then bring that to the workshop and say, hey, as a commission, we're bringing this out, throwing it out there. So we're all, and it's open to the public. So we're all aware of what's been said in public. And then, my suggestion is that our official website through our city, then it could be posted online, which we do a lot, the advertisements and so forth. That way we have everything that's been said by who, whatever, and all the information there that's been presented. So therefore, when somebody posts something, if they misunderstand something that maybe I might have put on my own website, which I use mostly the cities, but what I might say, it's already there out for anyone to go and look at it and say, this is what went on in the commissioners meeting. This is our workshop. This is what's been said. This is the question so-and-so had, Commissioner so-and-so, whatever. That way we can eliminate a lot of ill feelings and misunderstandings of what perception of something somebody could have. Because how I perceive something is could be totally different the way Tim perceives it, and he's probably perceived it a lot more correctly than I. Yeah, I'm not saying that, so I'm not going to back it up anymore. But I just wanted to, we need to do that, to eliminate and not waste people's time, but educate everyone.
I don't think asking to see our current purchasing policy is a waste of time. I had a reason to ask for it. And that's not asking someone their opinion. I'm just asking for a PDF to send to me to be reviewed.
But we have the policy as what, or whatever, what you're saying, I understand, and have every right, okay? But a lot of it's already written there, even the revisions. And then what I'm saying is, look at that, see if this fits, then bring it back to us in a workshop and let us go over it and present your case, and then we can hash out everything. Because we might need to update some stuff, okay? That would be better than posting on the internet before anything's been said, that we've been aware of.
I think we're talking about different things here, but is
yeah.
anybody at this point thinking about a motion or what we want to do about the budget tonight?
I'll do a call on the motion, whoever wants to vote for it.
Is it in close, so we can do that?
Okay.
Yeah, we're in regular meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to vote on the current budget?
Is there a motion on it? I'm usually one that motions first because I got the name B for Baker, among other things.
Okay, we have a
So we can
motion
proceed.
for a vote. Do we have a second
What's the motion for?
For us to vote.
on
On
the
as
budget?
proposed?
As proposed.
Y'all gonna vote tonight?
That would, that's what we're talking about, yes. Yes.
I work for a company.
We've had
and
public
I
hearing
feel
already.
like I'm a
He's
very
not
good
eligible
steward
to
of the
speak.
company, that I try to find the best-
Okay, if, sir, we
I know.
can't take comments from the floor. Thank you, though.
And the reason I'm making that is based on the fact of information that was given before, but the fact we have a deadline with the state, and not to be penalized, and then, I know there might not be penalty, but we have by law, we're supposed to have it done by the 30th. And we have gone over this previously. A lot of you weren't here, but we've hashed out a lot of this. This last, like you said, the last workshop, we didn't come to this past one because we're in Nashville. But when you went up there to speak or whatever, the question, whatever. So I think that to stay out of trouble with the state and everything and being proceed with procedure, we need to go ahead and vote. One way or the other, we need to go ahead and vote. And move on, and then we'll have to make whatever we have to do afterwards.
And I would agree. We've put a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into this. We've pulled over the numbers. We've asked difficult questions, like what happens when police cars break? What happens when you've got a police car with an inordinate number of miles that is just broken? What happens when employees want to go find employment elsewhere in a very difficult labor market? This is an unbelievably difficult. I've had to hire in this labor market. It's no fun. What happens? These are hard questions, and we don't none of us take this lightly. This is very, very difficult, and we appreciate the time that our staff has put into this budget because they've pulled a lot of collective resources. Thank you for the time that you all have put into this, and that's all I've got to say.
Well, I'm going to second it, and not that I want to. On retired income for my husband and I, a raise on our property tax will hurt. We'll have to make some decisions about what will go on in the future. So that's where I'm at. I don't want it, but I don't want the city to also suffer. We have some good employees, and I don't want to lose them. I've gotten acquainted with many of them. So that's where I'm coming from.
I would concur with you. I don't think any of us want this city to compromise who we are. That's very important because we moved here because we love the city. We love who the city is. We don't want it to become a less desirable place for people to live. But at the same time, there are people that will struggle with paying additional money because inflation's at all of us. It's hard.
I also have tried my best to look at what does the city do for this group of citizens that we could leave off the budget and their life would still be as good as what we have it in Collegedale. If we took off the money that we give to Tri-Community for our ambulance care, ambulance and so forth, the fire protection, I should say, trash pickup, all of that is going to cost us more money if the city drops those, but it would help our budget. We wouldn't have to have a tax increase. So what do? Have $50 more to pay a year. That's what it's going to be for my income. I mean, our property is about $50, $60 more, but it would cost me more than that for my garbage pickup and fire protection every month. So I weigh the balances according to my own budget, and I know my budget may be, I think it's down sort of the middle of the road. We don't live in a very expensive home, but being retired, we have to watch every penny we have.
My comments would be that it's frustrating for all of us. And I have a question that's rhetorical unless Mr. Elliott has a magic answer, but what's the point of us having a public hearing on the second reading if we're already locked in that we have to pass the advertised rate?
You got to have a public hearing. That's all I can tell you by law.
At one time, we had them on the first reading.
Yeah. And there was a conscious decision made by the commission some years ago to have them on the second reading. And y'all, that's a policy that y'all set some time ago.
And that was to allow time
Yeah.
for all this discussion would have been taken care of at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we decided to move it, because it has to be done by the 30th to allow citizens to get more feedback and time to adjust. And so we're down at the final stage.
So
So it's
before,
something we could change back.
okay, so before, is
Yeah.
that how it did? The first reading was the public hearing, the very healthy discussion,
Yes.
and then we kind of in the meeting say, this is what we want you to advertise. That's how it was done?
And
So you would need
we
a
might need to
month
go
in between.
back to that.
Roughly.
I'm sorry?
So you would need a month in between the first and the second reading.
Well, we could even start earlier if we needed to.
And
That would be the.
And it may be based on tonight's experience that next year, when you have the budget public hearing, you have it on the first reading.
I think that would probably be good.
Can we put that on a workshop
Yeah.
discussion?
That way it's all covered.
I know we've got other business at hand, and I hate to rush. I'm not trying to, I know that we've got other topics to
We do.
talk about. Can we just go ahead and vote on this?
Yes, so we do have a motion for approval. We do have a second for the vote. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
No.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
It bothers me to do this, but I'm going to abstain.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay.
Does it have to be a super majority?
No,
Okay.
No.
There's some votes that has to be super, and I wasn't sure if this was one that did.
y'all are, you guys are super enough, so. we're good.
I just don't want it to come back on us.
Thank you to those of you that came out tonight that are going to go ahead and walk out.
All right, what's next here?
Okay. So I'm going to
119.
go ahead and close out of the,
You can go into public hearing.
let's just go back into, okay, we'll close our commission meeting and go back into our public hearing second reading of ordinance 1119.
An ordinance to amend the official zoning map to rezone certain properties from industrial I-1 to C2 shopping center commercial, more particularly described as Hamilton County Tax Map 1321ID, parcel 012, said properties being located within the corporate limits of Collegedale, Tennessee.
So this is the old Buff salvage property. It did come with recommendation from Planning Commission for approval, and it passed on the first reading. Jason is here if you have any questions for the staff. The applicant is as well.
Okay.
And they are going from industrial to commercial.
Okay. All right. So we have representatives. Would you like to come speak?
If you want.
Yeah, please step up to the microphone. Give us your name.
Hello, Barry Payne. As we said last time, we had an opportunity we had a national coffee shop interested in this site. But I do, again, want to tell you, that's not set in stone, but we did evaluate and decide that it's more appropriate as a C2 property than an industrial property. So that's the direction we're trying to go as we expand Cambridge Square.
Yeah. So Cambridge will be similar expansion over.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions that anyone has? Questions about the commission?
We need to go,
I'm sorry.
or did
We're
you
in-
finish it?
We're in public hearing.
We're in the public hearing.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
See none.
Okay, I don't see any public comments. Any comments from the commission?
We probably should close it first.
Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and reopen the commission meeting.
So I think this will be a great addition. We see what Cambridge looks like on one side of the road. Will it be different? It probably will be in a little bit, depends on the architect and everything and what all he wants to bring to the city. I think it's a great thing and the revenue should be good and maybe help some of the future aspects of tax increases down the road. Of course, I'm sure it'll be a while before we get there, but I am definitely in favor of it.
Yeah, I am as well. We in Collegedale, we need as much retail as we can possibly get, good retail. And I'm very much in favor of what you're doing. I think it's a great asset to our community. I wish the city lines were drawn a little different, but given what they are, we'll take what we can get.
Mr. Payne, thank you for your interest in our city. I really do. I'm very hopeful for this, for helping for some of our revenue.
We're excited.
Yes.
I think it's a great
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got a standing history in the field, so I consider him a very worthy guy from development perspective.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to annex you, but I don't think that's going to be possible.
You mean across the street?
Yeah.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Evans?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, first reading under new business, first reading of ordinance 1120, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 22-23 budget.
We've done that, didn't we?
But this is 1120.
This is for the current year.
Yes.
Oh, I see what it is. I'm sorry, I haven't had
Okay,
much.
can we
That's
have
all
a
An ordinance of the City of Collegedale, Tennessee, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
any comments?
This is the annual amendment towards the end of the year. Again, the way that we do amendments in Tennessee, we have to have it done by the end of the year, but there's still 2 months for bills to come in. So it's a much closer projection, but it is still a projection. It's not hard numbers until we get to August.
And we'll redo this again in August, is that correct?
We don't have to unless we have overspent.
Okay.
So it's slightly conservative. Written numbers should be actually even a little bit closer.
On the breakout that we had, I think I understood most of it except for under the police amendment part. What are roll call fees?
Roll call is who we use for the overtime work. So that would be the extra jobs and things of that nature, special events and traffic duty and those.
4th of July and stuff.
Well, 4th of July will be paid as overtime.
Okay.
But it's special events mainly.
So it's the payment to employees for special service, for special events?
It's and I'll let,
It's the vendor.
I'll let the chief correct me, but it's the administrative fees paid to them. They pay the cost of the overtime.
So Roll Call is a company that basically controls your extra jobs. So what we found out and looked into about a year or so ago is there's kind of a gray area loophole with extra jobs. You know, if an officer gets hurt while he's working traffic, if he gets hit by a car, how is he protected? Is the city on the hook? Is the church he's working for on the hook? There's also some liability issues. So this particular company, basically the officer is, just to maybe simplify it, is the officer is working, but they're covered through Roll Call for limited liability coverage, for workers' compensation, all that sort of stuff. The company handles everything. They schedule everything. They deal with the clients. They pay the officers. They pay the officers directly. They direct deposit it. So they charge a fee for all those services. So those fees were for the amendment this year, and they have been added to the one you just approved to compensate for that. And it's roughly about, on a low end, because it's based on, it's a percentage that the company uses, and it's based on the number of hours worked. Part of that, a reason we looked into it too, is when we had the lights, the Christmas lights, it was an enormous amount of extra jobs, and we were asking the county to help us out, and they were talking about using Roll Call. They actually, a few of their officers actually did. It just makes it easy to disperse extra jobs. It's hands off for us, and it protects the officers and the city technically from some liability and workman's comp issues. It basically closes that loophole.
Does it kind of treat Roll Call as like a second employer for them since they're?
Essentially, yes, they get paid by Roll Call.
Okay.
So like instead of the church paying them, the church pays Roll Call.
Okay.
Or whatever company pays Roll Call, and then Roll Call pays the officer.
Okay, so none of that goes into their year totals for the city. It's completely separate.
The fees?
No, what they're getting paid by Roll Call. So that will not go into their.
No, they get their own tax forms and everything from Roll Call. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's good.
Any further discussion?
How much does that, did he say how much that cost us a month or a year for that program?
It's on average, it's about $250 a month.
Okay.
Again, if you have big spikes where you suddenly get a bunch of extra jobs, then I think the most I've seen it is a little over 300, maybe 320 one month. And that was like during the holidays when people typically want more, but I'm guesstimating it's around $250 a month.
And so if like an officer tripped while they're working an extra job, all of that is.
All that's covered by Roll Call.
It's not going to be filed
Yep,
under.
that's
city
correct.
insurance. Okay.
That's correct.
So it's our insurance policy.
Extra insurance.
It's an extra insurance. I mean, it basically alleviates the city, because when I went to HR first talking, and I said, well, if an officer breaks his leg directing traffic and he's off work for 6 months, he's working for whoever, is the city covering him for that? And the question was, well, no, it would be, probably them, or it'd be a legal battle. So Roll Call is, and there's several companies out there, but Roll Call is one that takes care of all that for us.
Okay, thank you. Good
Mhm.
explanation.
Other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. Okay, next item under new business is first reading of ordinance 1121, an ordinance to update provisions Title 18 in Municipal Code relating to water and sewers. Can you read the caption?
An ordinance of the City of Collegedale, Tennessee, revising and updating the provisions of Title 18 of the Municipal Code relating to water and sewers.
Okay.
Good evening.
So yes, myself, our sewer department, as well as our staff engineer, we've been going through our Title 18. There were several updates that needed to happen this year just for sewer rates and other things. But the main thing we noticed is the document itself was super outdated. It was originally wrote in 1977 and basically was a cookie cutter plug-in from MTAS. And I think over 40 some pages had nothing to do with how we do things or things that are applicable to our city. So there was a lot of removal of stuff that just doesn't do with anything that we do. A lot of tables were updated because a lot of our commercial and industrial waste users, that's all permitted through the city of Chattanooga because they actually treat the waste. We just are a collection system and we give it to Chattanooga. So they permit through them. So it was changed to reflect how things are actually done. That was the majority of it.
It made my head hurt to look at it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was 3 months of pouring through and multiple revisions after revisions and talking with Chattanooga, figuring out how they do things and how things are actually laid out in current working situation. Yep. And then, so what else do I have in here? This also reflects our current rate, which is what was proposed in the budget for sewer users fees for bulk users and water meter users for this year.
So who put it together and wrote it, or do we not copy it, but borrow it from some other city?
So we didn't borrow anything in this document. This was our original document that was edited to reflect what it is. We didn't really put in a whole lot of new information except for a couple of tables that has to do with the BOD allowances and everything, and that's straight from City of Chattanooga, which is who we discharge to. Everything else is original or removed. We changed the rates for this year and stuff like that.
More than anything else, it's reflective of what our sewer system actually is right now, as opposed to what it was in 1997 or 1992 or 1977.
Right.
On my initial pass through of it, I saw where it's 18-509. It does have a part where it says your position shall report to the city manager and the commissioners. And I was wondering if that should be one or the other, not both.
So we looked at the wording of that, and basically that's for me to basically let you guys know what's going on with the department, because you are the elected board that sets the rates and does all that kind of stuff. So for the day-to-day stuff, I'm going directly to Wayne, but for stuff either with this title or rates and stuff, I'm supposed to go to you as the manager of that independent fund.
Would that ever put us in a predicament where, not saying anything at all, but hiring and termination, if the commission and the city manager were not in agreement? Or would we be in a spot because it says and?
Reporting to, as opposed to, isn't that what it says, report to?
Shall report to the city manager and the
Yeah.
commissioners?
That's providing information and things like that.
Okay.
Because we don't manage that.
No.
Right. Yeah, basically it's bringing,
Manage.
reporting to you what's going on, what we need financially, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And anytime there's even a possibility of a conflict between what you, in your ordinances and our charter, which says the city manager, charter's going to control.
Okay.
I move that we accept this update.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. And we have a commissioner that's taking a break. We need to take a break.
No,
No.
she'll be right back, but we can go ahead and vote without her.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and have a roll.
It doesn't have to be a super vote.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. Okay, next item under new business is approval of MOU for Tennessee Integrated Criminal Justice Program. Chief, come talk to us, please.
Sure, this is a yearly MOU. It just basically allows our officers, our agency, access to the Tennessee Criminal Justice Portal. Just lays out what the fees are per user, what our responsibilities are. It's nothing new. We've had it for several years. They just require my signature every year, every new fiscal year.
I move to approve.
I'll second that. We have a motion for approval and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. And next item is approval to accept quote from Southern Coast K-9 Incorporated for the purchase of police K-9 and K-9 handler training of $12,700.
Okay, so unfortunately, one of our canine handlers resigned to go to another agency. This particular handler, it was his dog. We had worked out an agreement to buy it from $1, but if he left, he bought it back, which he did. City manager and I sat down and talked about, we looked at the budget. We originally budgeted $33,000 to get the canine program restarted this year. Because of the deals we got on the first 2 dogs, we've barely scratched that. I think we've spent $7,000 for the dog, for one dog, and $1 for the other. Those handlers were both experienced and trained. So were their dogs. So we didn't really have any training costs. They trained with Chattanooga. But to replace that dog, we want to kind of go a different route, purchase a dog from this specific company. This is a company that's been around 30 years. They provide all the Disney parks with their dogs. They train handlers from all over the world. So again, the dog itself is $9,500, and then the 4-week handler program was $3,200 for a total quote of $12,700. And like I said, we budgeted $33,000, and I don't think we've even spent 9 or 10 of that. So,
Well, Chief, I got to ask, why did we lose the officer? Was it pay or?
I don't want to speak for the officer.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I just, while we were on the subject.
He and I had a very good conversation, but I wouldn't feel right sharing that in a public forum. But
Sure. Yeah, okay.
but he left
That's
on
perfectly
on
fine.
good terms, and I'd hire him back tomorrow if he wanted to come back. So
Okay. Well, so this dog said the cost of the dog is $9,500?
yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any further questions, discussion?
The proposal's expired, though.
Is it?
It is.
Okay. Well,
It was from May 3rd.
that there was some language on the terms and conditions that Mr. Elliott wanted changed, and there was a bunch of scrambling back and forth today to get that adjusted, which it was. And I'm assuming it was just because this is the email she sent me at 5:30, but I can get that.
I have the one that was sent to us on Friday that's dated May 3rd. So did she give you a new proposal?
The one she just sent me today at 5:30 still shows 5/3 as the, that's the proposal date.
We can communicate, we'll accept it, and I feel sure in light of their response today that they'll accept, they'll honor the quote.
And did you say this is out of the current fiscal year? It's not the one that was just approved?
No, it's in this current year.
I move that we accept this new dog.
I accept.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
No.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. Okay, next is approval to purchase upfitting equipment for 3 police department Dodge Durangos. Chief?
Yes, this is just a quote for upfitting equipment for, it's actually just for one of the Durangos, but the total quote was $15,526.50.
That's for just one of them. Is that for
Yeah, that's just for one, correct? Or that's all 3?
all three?
Okay, my mistake. So it's all 3 of them, yep.
So are we doing each quote individually?
No, it's for all 3 cars.
I saw 3 different quotes, one at 13,000, another for 13,000, and a third one for 17,000.
Okay, the one that was for 17,000, was there another quote out there?
That's for the K9.
So they did quote them individually because we had one K9 unit that was being upfitted in that, and the other 2 were singular units. It's easier for them to quote individual units versus piling them together. So yes, you all did receive 3 quotes. 2 of them are for regular patrol units. One is for the K9 unit to have that second Durango. The Durango quote for 17,000, they actually added a component that only goes into the patrol units. So there was an updated quote today that reduces that down by, I believe, $2,000.
So will this provide a third K-9 vehicle on the fleet?
Yes.
A third one?
We'll have 2 Durangos, and then the car that's it's actually a line car. It was one of our original K9 vehicles that was decommissioned, and then we brought it back to life to make it a K9 vehicle. It's had constant repairs because it was a high hour, high idle car to begin with. And we have just been pouring money to keep it running. It's suitable for if one of the Durangos goes down for oil change, whatever the case may be, they need to drive it for a shift or two, but it's certainly not long for life as far as because K9 cars, they have to run all shift basically. So
it's the backup dog car.
it's the backup dog car. Serves one purpose, being the backup dog car.
And what is our total expenditure for all three cars?
Because I only have the one you sent me, which was the 15,000.
Ms. Christie, do you have the other quotes?
I can total it. If no one can beat me to it, we can have a math race.
I don't know that you won't be doing too much complicated math.
What was the total of that one?
13,397, 78.
That's for the regular one. No, that's not.
So that would be one.
All right, so it would be
You got 'em all.
$43,830.78.
I'll trust your math.
We'll trust the calculator.
So these amounts are already budgeted amounts.
They're in this year's budget.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
Do we already have these Durangos? Just curious on. Are
They're,
they like?
we got an email that says they are being shipped from the plant to Nashville in a couple of weeks, I think June the 16th.
No,
That's
we've
pretty
already
quick.
ordered them.
Oh, yes, they've been ordered, but they haven't been delivered yet. But we hope to have them in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have the F-150 that was ordered with this batch already, but we're still waiting for the Durangos. Interestingly enough, just for y'all's information, part of, since we go with silver, they don't just do like a run of silver cars. They wait till they get ordered for silver, and then they only wait till they get a certain number of silver, and then they run a line. So that's been part of the holdup.
Is striping an additional cost that we'll handle later, or is that already been handled?
It's included in another line item.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Well, we have a motion for
All right,
approval.
thank
No time for a second.
It's fine.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Sixth item is approval of library contract amendment.
So this is the amendment to the library for the additional, it's approximately $23,000 to go directly for salaries.
Okay.
How much do you say that was?
Approximately $23,000.
Do we know how many full-time and part-time employees they have over there?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get you that information.
There was at one time, one part-time, but they reduced staff, so they got more full-time now. There's not really that many.
I was just looking at the cost and wondering if when the last time we talked about maybe taking this over ourselves, if we had
It's a
benefits to
lot
that.
cheaper to do what we're doing now, working, because I was involved in all that when we were setting. And matter of fact, we save and they turn right around and invest money that we've paid. We paid it was like a little over $400,000 that they contracted to us. What's the amount now? Because I've not been on the library commission in a few months.
50 off the top of my head is.
Okay, but it's over the last few years, it's been very 4,000, 450,000. But it's a lot cheaper and we get more bang for the buck, to be honest with you. That's the best way I could say it. And they turn around and invest that money that they and put in extra money out of their own pockets to keep up the equipment, to keep up the books and all the programs that are going on. If we had to do it ourselves, it'd be tripled.
Is the extra 55,000 though, is that for the books?
Some of it goes for that. Some of it goes because of just the inflation, the price of buying books, the price of having to keep up the computers and so forth. It's a whole lot better program.
Okay.
Whereas before, when we did it with the city, we went through all this, we belonged to the city. we paid the city actually 500,000, this was a few years ago, 500,000 a year to maintain our library. And they didn't do any, forgive me, but they just didn't do anything. They didn't add books, they didn't add everything. And so this company that we deal with and have, they're expert librarians. A lot of them have been librarians themselves. And they've done a fabulous job. And all of it goes into our library. I've done my preaching for the day. But no, it's a lot cheaper, believe me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. And the seventh item under new business is approval of purchase of a new tractor for Public Works.
Backward, oh, that's a tractor.
Yes, good evening. So I sent with the minutes, the quote that I got from the several different dealerships. This is a tractor we have budgeted in this year's budget. And so I'm requesting approval to purchase from Chattanooga Tractor and Equipment, total of $66,829.26. And that's through, they have the state contract, which is why we get that $17,000 discount. The other dealerships were priced through Sourcewell, which is also a national pricing bid discount agency. And we have a good working relationship. And so that's my request.
So tell us, the tractor is going to be used for what?
So it'll be used for bush hogging. We've got a 15-foot back wing that this tractor would be pulling. Previously, we had a tractor that was running it that we had to decommission 2 years ago. We tried pulling it with another tractor, wasn't very successful. So we budgeted to purchase a tractor for pulling that. We'll also use it pulling a smaller bush hog for doing sewer easements and other tighter areas. Some of our sewer easements, we can pull the 15-foot batwing on, so that'll make it a lot more efficient. But this is for our large fields in right-of-way and also out at the pistol range and other areas.
Okay.
And this was last year's budget, right? Or
Correct.
current budget. right?
Current budget,
Okay.
correct.
I move to approve.
I'll second. We have a motion for approval and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. And eighth item, approval of repair quote for Public Works JCB backhoe.
Yes, so this is to do some repair work to our sanitation backhoe that we use every day to pack garbage at the transfer station. This quote is from Mid-South Equipment, which is the local JCB dealer in Chattanooga. Speaking with our city attorney, they're basically our sole source dealer to be able to purchase the parts and do the repair work and stuff with. The other dealers in Nashville and Atlanta, 90 some miles away. So I'm requesting approval to spend $38,662.58.
So let me ask you a question. How old is this tractor?
It's a 2006 model. We purchased it used, I believe, in 2011 or 12.
So there's no guarantee next month the engine may go out or something else, right?
Right. There's no guarantee of that. Everything else is in good working condition. I looked at what the cost would be to purchase a new one. They're about $120,000. I looked at what it would cost to, say, purchase a good condition used one that was, maybe 7-8 years newer, about $60,000. And those are basically coming off of rental fleets, so they've been ran
Hard.
all the time. So with looking at it, what it's going to cost to fix it, what it does primarily is packing garbage, and what we're going to be replacing is the major moving components in packing garbage. So it should get us at least another 5-8 years down the road.
Just had to ask.
Yeah.
I move that we accept this bid.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. And that concludes our new business. Request for reports from city administration.
The only thing is Freedom Festival will be on July the 3rd, so we won't have a meeting that day.
July the 1st.
3rd,
Third.
Monday, the 3rd.
Very much looking forward to it.
Yes, I think we all are.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Okay. Any reports from commissioners?
Mine is actually about the Freedom Festival. I'm really excited about it. We're having some push out of information this week, so we might know what kind of events we're having or music.
That's the plan later this week.
Okay, and some preliminary traffic going out
That'll
soon after that, or
probably another week or so.
another week? Okay.
That's an estimate. If it's ready sooner, my expectations, we'll have a draft sooner that I'd like a little bit more breathing room to review before we push it out.
Any chance we can get a dunk tank for a new mayor?
Why not?
Sure glad you.
What about our new commissioner?
I mean, I'll get in it too.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be wishing we had that parking lot. Last year I parked up on the hill. It took me an hour and a half to get home. Traffic was horrible.
It's a sign of success, correct?
It is a sign of success, but yeah, I think we need to start talking about that parking lot.
Yeah, we really
We've had a sign of success then for many years,
Yes.
not just last year.
Yeah,
we really do, especially losing the parking lot we had. So,
yes. But let's be looking at that.
so I'd like to say thank you to Andrew for taking care of the high grass over at the apartments off Little Ringo Road. It's getting tall again, but hopefully they know to stay on top of that. I really appreciate it. They cleaned up the mess by the trash. The business owners over there, that little strip mall, they definitely appreciated it. So thank you.
Jeremy did a great job of getting in touch with them and facilitating getting them taken care of. So I want to be sure to pass on credit where it's due as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and Eric, so I know that my favorite TDOT topic about paving, I had several people complain about right there at the four-way stop, how bad it is. And so if we could, I know we're at the mercy of somebody, but, and I know you've done everything you can.
TDOT has done everything they can on their end, their go. They are, as always, fighting with the railroad. Unofficially, they are hopefully to get it taken care of as soon as possible.
Okay. And then down by the Little Debbie thrift store is still bad again, so.
From my understanding, that spot should be hit as soon as they're done with the main line paving, which they're doing out in front of the research center right now. Once they have a brief moment, they can go down there and do a quick overlay on that.
And I'll just say, Jack, I don't know, I know your guys are pretty good. I appreciate what they've done on a couple emergencies here lately. I won't go into the details, you know what they are, but they have done a really good job. So I just want you to pat them on the back for that. That's all I had.
I'll add to that, they were very wonderful last Friday night at my house.
Okay, any other comments from commissioners? Well, we have our big open house coming up, July 3rd. It's when our community, it's when our region comes to Collegedale to see our open house. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase what a great city we have, what a patriotic city. And I know we spend a lot of money on this, but I think it's money well spent. It's our signature event here in Collegedale. I'm very proud of it, and want to thank all of our city employees, especially our public works staff. You guys got a lot of work to do between now and July 3rd, but we know you're up to it. We know it's going to get done. So thank you very much for everything. Okay, well, if there are no other comments, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion
Second.
to adjourn second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker? Yay. Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. And we are adjourned.
Good job.